healthy churches look more like recovery meetings than country clubs. They look more like a group of broken, struggling people coming together, telling the truth about their experience to one another, confessing our sins, confessing the ways that we've been sinned against, and confessing when things just aren't right, when we're struggling with whatever it may be. But we have a tough time, I think, making our churches like that. And I think it's because we sort of think of church as a place for people in the after photo, people who have got their act together. It's sort of like when you work out before you join a gym so that you look like one of the trim people. Christianity doesn't offer cures. It offers grace. It offers healing. It's we are people who offer death and resurrection. So we don't know how to cure a pregnancy that is in danger, or someone with cancer, or even difficult reconciliations that need to happen, or the wounds that we carry on the inside. We don't always know how to cure that. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's because we're called to the long, arduous, and powerful process of healing, of walking with one another through pain. I think that is what the church is called to. Jesus will always be such a compelling figure to me. It's just the story I'm willing to risk being wrong about. Faith is always a risk. It's always a gamble. There's a chance we're dead wrong about all of this. But with Jesus, I'm willing to risk that. I'm willing to risk being wrong. And I think for me, that's what confirmation has meant in my life. It's not that I got it all figured out. It's not that I can say those creeds without any thought in my mind that maybe we got this wrong. It's not that I've got all my theological ducks in a row. It's that Jesus has this pull on me. I can't seem to get away, and maybe that's okay. Receiving communion reminds me of how desperately I need God, how desperately I need grace, how desperately I need the people kneeling next to me, even if we don't get along, even if I might perceive them to be my enemies. So having both given communion and received communion, I see it as this beautiful, powerful, and sufficient means of grace. It's an outward sign of inward grace, and it is always and ever enough. The body and blood of Christ is enough. I think the problem is sometimes we just tend to get in our own way. We make it all about ourselves. We try to impress people. We try to make it about theology. We try to make it about doctrine and denominationalism and our screwed up notions of who's in and who's out. And we get in the way of Christ and the table. And so I think the main thing is to learn to get out of the way and let God move, to keep in mind that what makes the gospel offensive isn't who it keeps out. It's not who it keeps away from the table. It's who it invites in. That's always been what makes the gospel powerful and countercultural and frankly offensive. When you think about communion and you think about how this is Christ's table, it's not my table, it's not my denomination's table, it's not your table, it's Christ's table. And anyone who is hungry is welcome to that table. Jesus makes the invitation list, not us. I think that's deeply appealing to people who long for communion with God, with their neighbor, and even with their enemies. The table has been and always will be one of the most powerful and countercultural truths of Christianity, and one of the most powerful aspects of church life. It's not about a service or a pastor or a choir or a band that impresses me and tries to sell me another product. The gospel is not a product to be sold. It's just about gathering around that table, recognizing my need and my neighbor's need, even my priest's need, and eating from the bread of life, which is given for the life of the world. The church will survive because the church is about death and resurrection. So, I mean, it may die, but Jesus will make something new of it. So I don't worry about the future of the church. I think I used to. I used to worry that if we didn't get our act together, my generation would abandon ship and would leave. But for some reason, I've stuck around. And I think if we keep, just, practicing the sacraments, and if we keep preaching the good news that Christ has died, Christ has risen, Christ will come again, then it'll survive. Or at least be reborn a few times over.